Hi, this is Merlin today. I'm just gonna talk about one today. Actually, I'm implementing my own like logging system for our service, which is called the Run Trick. We're just gonna launch at like this July. So, and the question is, why do we need some kind of logging? But this is actually not about our like engineering thing, but if you look at how the business works in the startup, you will learn that logging is important. If you look at the lean startup, so lean startup is just like the start of like business like plan for the in like that is really popular in the Silicon Valley. So what is so lean startup is basically you you build something, and so for example you build some kind of fancy website, and you expect that user will like your product, but somehow you find out that the retention rate is really low, and you learn from this, and you pivot, you do pivot, I don't know how to pronounce pivot, and make a new other feature or revise the current feature. This is kind of really like important thing of the lean startup. Build is making a MVP, and the measure is putting some kind of like A/B testing, and also logging. And learn is based on this. So to make it learn and to enable the pivot, the learning has to be done, and this learning is really important, that because this is really impact on our into business. So but the common issue of like nowadays the logging system is that our logging is basically logging, but only for the events handler, events handler, those kind of thing. Example, you have a fancy website. Let's say you have a fancy website, and there's a button here, and you put log on this part. So if you click this button, your behavior, we're just gonna store it in like ID, just numbers, and the user ID is gonna be some kind of like this. And what else? The button, the state score is gonna be click, and that's kind of good for the entire application in also in the business term. But the question is that it doesn't really shows the data that friendly to the some kind of lean startup. The logging has to be integrated. Well, I believe logging has to integrated for the your expectation, because example, there's a page A, and there's a page B. Wait, hold on, I'm just gonna try to delete this. So there's a page A, and there's page B, and that's pretty nice. And you expect that if you click some kind of button or some kind of other button, you go to page B, and based on the page B, you do some kind of user behavior. Example, there's a feature A, a feature lowercase a, and there's a feature B on the B page. But the traditional logging system is just the clicking issue. If you click it, there's gonna be data, but only for the data. But why don't we have some kind of data that represent those kind of flaw? We expect that if we click some kind of button in the A, and we expect to go to B page, right? Because we code it, and it goes to the B page, and it also it also puts the data that if we scroll or if we click this A fetcher, let's say like this kind of flow, and after clicking A we can go to fetcher B. So my suggestion in this our own logging system is, don't try to like focus on the one single data of single event of the current page. Let's just build some kind of logging data that represent our hypothesis, of our current service plan. I mean business plan. We expect that if user clicks this button, user goes to page B, and the page B we put some kind of fancy feature which is A and B, small a and small b, and when user scrolls the small a, there's gonna be some kind of good feature, and if there's some kind of good feature, it can go to the other steps that represent the next content of the A B. So that will be same page but different A and B content. Why don't we show those kind of graph, those kind of like flow in data? So there was my kind of like my imagination of it, but I think this is really possible. But really how? This is actually related to our computer science logic. Let's say our root is this part. Our root page is this part. Based on some kind of click and login button, we can go to another page. Since in the root page, and we have to go to the other page, right? There's a login button. Since login button, after login button, there's gonna be some kind of two buttons that I can navigate, which is go A page button, go B page button. And after going to the page A button, there's a fancy feature 1, and there's fancy feature 2. And if you already noticed this is actually the tree data structure. We don't have to make some kind of like data per the UI of the click. We can just make this as a tree that represents our user flow. But what if user really likes it? It goes to the page A button, and it already revisits the fancy feature 1. Since the issue of the normal the tree data structure, it cannot go back to the to reburst. But my question is, we can just utilize the doubly linked list on the node of the tree, and we can just put some kind of like pointers to be able to see the revisited. So example, I visit root page, nice. I incremented 1, and after I visit login button, nice, I increment 1 button, and nice. And now we go page. User clicks the button that goes to page A, and or that's nice, and that's 1. And let's say user really likes the fancy feature button, not button, it's just like doing some kind of other thing. We incremented 1. But since the user really likes our product, and it goes back to the page A, and it revisits it, so it's gonna be change us the 2 of it. And now if we go back here, the fancy page 1 is gonna be so it's gonna be 2 of it. And more, there's some kind of like increment value, it also means that user really likes this product. But since if this fancy product, it user really don't like it, we can just like delete this kind of feature and implement more feature on the page A, on the fancy feature one in the page A. So this is my theory, and I think I'm just gonna like make this logic in my front end TypeScript code. So this is it. Have a nice day. See you next time. Bye bye.